I bet you are surprised to have a nun here. Me too. I am Sister Esther, passionate about education. I am the principal at Agustinian School, Nuestra Señora del Buen Consejo, located in Chitré, Panamá, Central America. And we are here because I would like to share with you just a little story, but interesting, about our educational transformation. The story began during the pandemic. Global education was at a turning point, and everything was questioned. Even the school had to question ourselves if we were preparing the students for the uncertain future that lies ahead, climatic, political, social, emotional, and cultural realities that young people were experiencing. My role in this story has been to introduce geospatial analysis tools into the school dynamic. It's happened because one day, a brilliant student named Juan Diego came to my office and introduced me to GIS. Juan Diego was involved in environmental protection organization, and he was fascinated by using GIS tools. His passion and enthusiasm encouraged me to learn about GIS program for a school and to meet the Esri program director, Emilce Mejia. She's here. One day, he succeeded to connect us, and the rest is history. Emilce and I began to connect education, science, and technology at the school, and we began to do the program. We start with 17 students and 3 teachers. Today, more than 300 students has been impacted with GIS program. 100 of them has been training in remote sensing and data science in our clubs. And 10 teachers lead interdisciplinary projects at all levels, guided and supported by the students themselves. Now, they map, analyze, create, and lead solutions for the community. Their work has achieved recognition, national and international recognition, for its innovation and commitment to sustainability. More than a success story, for us, is the story about how the students can help pave the way for change in education. And now, the most important. I would like to introduce you some of the first students that joined our high school program. Ricardo, Nieves, María José, and Franccesca. And I would like to invite them to present their work. Thank you.
Panama lies at the heart of the Americas, a strategic place where routes and culture connect. And it didn't take long for the world to follow. Soon after Christopher Columbus set sail in search of new worlds, European empires turned their gaze to Panama, not as a destination, but as a crossing. For centuries, this narrow strip of land has been connecting oceans, people, and power, long before highways, airports, or even countries as we know them existed. By the early 1500s, Panama was already a key part in a global trade network. Ships didn't come to stay, they came to cross, carrying gold, silver, and other treasures across continents. Maps were drawn in secrecy, routes were guarded. This wasn't just about geography, it was about an opportunity. Because in the end, it wasn't the land itself that mattered, it was about what that land made possible. Today, that same passage no longer moves treasures, it moves the world. More than 14,000 ships pass through the Panama Canal each year, linking more than 180 maritime routes in over 1,900 ports in 170 countries. And right beside the locks, the skyline rises. Casco Antiguo to Punta Pacífica, the old and the new, side by side. And if you take a step back, Panama's role becomes clear, a key node in international trade and transport, linking global routes and regional development. But all of this, the trade, the movement, the life we sustain, depends on one thing: water. And today, that vital resource is at risk. Of course, water is only but a part in Panama's history. That's why in this presentation, we'll explore not just the canal, but also how our landscapes are changing, how ecosystems respond, and how communities are reacting. And for that, I'll hand things over to Nieves, who will tell us about Lake Alajuela and Lake Gatun, and what we risk losing if the climate keeps shifting.
This is Panama, home to two of the most important artificial lakes in the region. These lakes provide drinking water to thousands of people and support essential local activities like fishing and agriculture. But now, please let's zoom into our study area, the region of Lake Gatun and Lake Alajuela, located near to Panama City. These lakes play a key role in the operation of the Panama Canal, a global trade route that depends on a steady water supply to function efficiently. And one of the main drivers of water loss is evapotranspiration, the process where water moves from soil and plants back into the atmosphere. To understand this impact, we analyzed SAR images from 2023 and 2024. I chose this time frame because this is the interval of one of the recent and most severe droughts that the canal has ever experienced. SAR, or synthetic pressure radar, is a type of satellite sensor that uses microwave energy. The main advantage is that it can see the Earth's surface even through clouds and at night, making it perfect for tropical areas like Panama. For this project, I built a model builder to show each step in the analysis. First of all, we clipped our SAR image to focus only into our study area. We used reclassify to separate water from non-water areas. To eliminate small errors or isolated spots, we applied a majority filter. Then, with raster to polygon and project, we convert our raster image into vector shape and switch from degrees to square meters. Finally, with select layer by attributes and dissolve, we merge all the polygons into a single unified shape. If we do the same thing with the 2023 image, we get these results. In red, the 2024 polygon, and in blue, the 2023. After applying this method to both lakes, we wanted to explore if there was a faster or automated way to extract water bodies. There's a tool called Classify Pixels using deep learning, with a trained model called Water Body Extraction SAR USA. This model uses thousands of examples to recognize water bodies in radar images automatically. And once we ran this deep learning tool, we got results that were just as accurate as the manual method I showed earlier, but with much less time and effort. In the end, we compared the total water areas. Lake Gatun lost about 3 square kilometers of water. On the other hand, Alajuela lost about 16 square kilometers of water. That's about 124 San Diego's convention centers. And this difference is significant because Alajuela is the main reservoir that feeds Gatun. During droughts, Alajuela is drained quickly to keep the canal running and allow ships to pass. But this water loss doesn't just affect the canal. It also threatens the drinking water supply for all Panama City and limits local economic activities like fishing and agriculture. These results show that drought has a real serious impact, not just on a global trade, but also on the communities that depend on these lakes every day. Thank you. So, as we've seen, water availability is already under pressure, and this change is only growing with increasing human activity. Ricardo will now take us through the next key issue, urban expansion, and how it's reshaping the landscape in Panama.
Thank you, Nieves. Now, let's look at a simple urban expansion analysis I performed using satellite imagery from 1990 to 2020. I used Landsat for the earlier years and Sentinel-2 for the latter. First of all, I applied an unsupervised classification using the isocluster method to distinguish land cover types, and then reclassified that output to isolate build-up areas. I also applied a majority filter to improve reliability and eliminate scatter pixels. And finally, using the zonal statistics as table, We extracted area measurements to see how urban growth had evolved over time. And here's what the data revealed. In 1990, the urban area covered just about 7 square kilometers of the total study area, or about 5%. By 2000, it had nearly tripled, reaching 21 square kilometers, or 15% of the area. In 2010, it climbed up to 30 square kilometers, or 21% of the area, and by 2020, urban expansion reached 51 square kilometers, or about 36% of the area. This means that in just 30 years, the urban footprint grew more than sevenfold. That would be the equivalent of around 400 venues of this size. And if this trend continues, we could be looking at over 60 square kilometers by 2030 and over 72 by 2040. But urban expansion isn't just about maps and numbers. Every pixel represents something real. Families, trees, shade, clean air, or our homes. From above, we can see how the city spreads, but we can also see what gets left behind. Because it's not just concrete, it's about balance, knowing how far we can grow without losing what sustains us. And though this is a very simple analysis, it still gives us very valuable insight. It shows that with just a couple of tools and a different point of view, we can reveal the scale of our impact. We can begin to ask the harder questions and see patterns we'd otherwise miss. I once heard a quote from a very wise man: understanding precedes action. Before we can protect what matters, we have to truly see it. Before we can act, we need to understand. And that understanding, even coming from a simple analysis like this, can be the beginning of something much bigger. Thank you. And now, to understand how this expansion affects biodiversity and surrounding ecosystems, I'll hand things over to Maria, who will guide us through Panama's ecological corridors and see what's at stake if we lose them.
Thank you, Ricardo. Panama is not only the bridge of the world in terms of commerce, but also in terms of biology. Located at the heart of the Mesoamerican biological corridor, Panama is one of the most biologically rich countries on our planet. The presence of the Smithsonian Tropical Research Institute, its only location outside of the US, highlights Panama's global significance as a hub for biodiversity research. Panama is home to over 1,800 native species. These 9, chosen from iNaturalist records, are just a small taste of the diversity we're lucky to have. For this study of our natural corridor, we use high-resolution land cover data from Esri Living Atlas, specifically this Sentinel-2 land cover product. We begin by clipping our land cover rasters to match our area of interest and mosaicing them together to create one seamless image for 2024 and one for 2017. We then reclassified those rasters so that only our forest category was preserved, and all other land cover types were grouped into a single class. Then, using the raster calculator, we compared both images pixel by pixel, so that whenever a forest pixel in 2017 had changed to a non-forest category by 2024, we marked it as forest lost. This gave us as a result a forestal loss of 3.4%. Then, using the raster to polygon tool, we turned our forest loss raster into a polygon, which allowed us to perform an overlap analysis between it and 1 kilometer buffer zone surrounding native species observation points. Now, let's take a closer look. The blue circles represent zones of potential impact, and the bright pink part of the polygon represents where habitat loss may threaten native species. This analysis revealed there are nearly 472,000 hectares, or about 1,160,000 acres of our forestless raster intersected with species buffer zones, giving us clear insight on where are these areas that we need to focus on to ensure that Panama's biological treasure withstands the test of time. Thank you. Well, you've seen how our analysis revealed critical patterns across Panama. Now, I will leave it with Franccesca, who will show you how they could guide smarter land management in our hometown, Chitré.
Thank you, Maria. So we are finally in our hometown Chitré, and for this part, I want you all to imagine yourself at the edge of your town or city, watching how it expands without proper urban planification. As a young student from Chitré, the so-called city that grows by itself, this hits close to home. Whether you're a normal citizen trying to build your first house or a local mayor managing growth, you're left with outdated documents, technical jargon, and no clear maps to guide your decision. And that's the reality of most of urban planning in Panama today. But what if we could see more as our communities have the tools to plan with confidence and foresight? That's the purpose of my work. Chitré is growing, and with Landsat 8 and 9, with images from 2014 to 2024, I analyzed this urban expansion. As you can see in the central part of the cities, there's clearly growth between these 2 years. But if you want to see it from other perspective, I also did a supervised classification analysis between these 2 years. Again, you can see the growth in the central part of the city, and this also adds to the fact that between 2014 and 2024, Chitre's population actually grew a lot. You can also see that birdlands slightly reduced and, surprisingly, woodlands slightly increased. I also did a land surface temperature analysis between these 2 years. And in the images, we can see that in the central part of the cities, shockingly, between 2014 and 2024, the city temperatures decreased significantly. But if we see the legend, we can see that in 2024, there's a slight increase in overall temperatures. But if we see Chitré in the bigger picture, we can say that the urban expansion has been good, and the protection of our vegetation has also been good. So we have a good future, even though we don't have a lot of trees, but we'll work on that. But this is all more than data. This is a call for action. We don't need more PDF regulations. We need digital, visual, accessible tools like maps, platforms, automatic models that anyone can use, from a student to a mayor. Because Chitré future shouldn't be a guess, and all cities in Panama shouldn't be a guess. It should be a choice, one made with information, with clarity, and with vision. Thank you.
Do you understand why we are so proud about our students? They are they are learning to map projects based on real community problems using the power of data with accessible tools and committed to sustainable solutions and action that serve the community. For all this, we want to express our deepest gratitude to Esri Panamá, señora Elena Gutiérrez, Rocío Vega, and especially to Emilce Mejia, our program educational director. And Laura and Jack, I have no word for say thank you so much for this opportunity to be here. Be sure that we are going to continue to build our future, educational future, by having students more reflected, critical, and creative in their contribution, by mapping the understanding of the world, and together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sister.